But Dominic Calvert-Lewin got his first goal forever. And it was a really good goal. Sometimes when you've not scored, Janis, as a goal scorer, you don't care how you score. If it comes off your backside and goes in, this is a really well taken goal. And he had a part to play in the other goals as well. He's a player I really like, and just sometimes it goes against him. And I was so happy to see him back among the goals today, because it's not for the want of trying. He gives everything in every game, doesn't he?
Yeah, and that could have been a much better game for him, right? I mean, ultimately, and we'll get to it. I mean, it was such an easy game. It was 3-0. Spurs showed a little bit of bite, obviously, because the result was 3-2. But if you remember, at 1-0, Calvert-Lewin was played through. And it was a bad touch right into the goalkeeper, because that could have been game over. Mangala right after him, when we're talking about Everton, with a great shot. And I think Kinski, the new goalkeeper, made a great save, just a touch on the ball onto the post, if I remember. So then I'm thinking that game should be over. And of course, Njai then and Gray's own goal followed up. In terms of Calvert-Lewin, we all know that there's something there. But, when you play for a team that can't score goals in general, it's going to be that much more difficult. Excuse me.
You done? You okay?
I don't know. I was hoping.
There's a mute button. You press, you do what you need to do, and then you give me the thumbs up when you're ready again after you've had a glass of water or whatever. Now,
we can edit that.
I'm sure we can. Iliman Njai is a player. I don't know how many people know that much about him, but he's a real talent. And I think David Moyes is going to enjoy coaching him. And I think he's going to enjoy the freedom that David Moyes is going to try and allow him to play. He scores a really good goal. But I just wonder, with him and with Calvert-Lewin, if they can kind of click, if they can gel, and it was Njai who got the second goal, Everton might be looking at finally they have something that works in attack. What do you like most about this young man?
Look, let's just wait and hold, right? A little bit about David Moyes and Everton. I mean, you're playing against a team that's just in shambles, right? So as much as I wish that David Moyes in his second incarnation there at Everton is going to do a great job, obviously you can see the difference right away from the last manager. And but he's lively. He's obviously he's got pace. He's got the ability of taking on, and he can finish as well. So I think, if you look at Njai, he's been the bright spot. If you look at the entire team, with the exception of maybe the steady Eddie that Tarkowski is, and Pickford to a large degree, right? Those are the three players that I think even in the worst of times have been okay for Dyche and now for David Moyes. But I just think I'm going to have to wait, because I think there's still some issues at Everton. And Jai, if he continues to stay in form, I think is going to be helpful. Calvert-Lewin can, if he stays healthy. Of course, we're not sure about that. But this is not the sort of game, and especially with that finish, I'll tell you, because it does make a difference, right? Mm-hmm. And we're going to get on talking about Spurs a little bit. At 3-0, it's a different story to tell. At 3-2, forgive me that I gave you this answer, sort of, let's just wait and see what Calvert-Lewin or Njai or the rest of Everton may or may not do, because they continue to be a team that's not really... it's not one of those teams that you can count on having this sort of output week in and week out.
Look, the reason I ask you, we haven't had much opportunity this season to be positive about Everton. And I get it's a small sample size. I was just hoping that we could use the opportunity when we do have a chance to talk positively about Everton to say and to show what they have. And they went 3-0 up. It was an Archie Gray own goal. And Spurs today, there were stages they went 3 at the back, they had 4 at the back, they went 4-2-4 towards the end. What was it about Spurs in the first half that most annoyed you, that it was so easy for Everton to have that 3-0 lead at the break?
What came to my mind almost immediately, and I don't know why, maybe, because, it was Antonio Conte. Remember when he left, that rant that he had, that they are used to this here? They don't want to play for anything important. They don't have leaders. I'm obviously not quoting him directly here, because I just remember some of that. They're not used to pressure. They don't like to play under stress, and none of that has changed. And exceptional circumstances, right? I mean, today before the game, you had 10 players, key players being Brennan Johnson and Solanke were the two players that fell out of the last starting 11 during the game. You have Dragushin. We have to continue saying that because it's impossible. It's just impossible to get your team on track when some of the key players are not there. But if we wake up tomorrow morning and Ange Postecoglou will not be the coach of that team, I understand it. Having said all of that, I just wonder. I mean, I don't wonder. I know what Spurs fans think, but do we have to go higher? Do we have to listen to what Conte has said? Do we have to listen to what Jose Mourinho has said? We go back to Pochettino. Under Pochettino, obviously, they had some success. And do we have to ask how much more and how many great coaches or other coaches can we ask for, and are they going to be able to do something different here? And maybe we have to look at Daniel Levy, because obviously it doesn't seem to me that there's that ambition that Antonio Conte was talking about to change of the perception of Spurs, right? The no trophies and a team that never does anything, because they're all good coaches. Ange is a good coach as well, Mark, but you need to get in players to execute their philosophy, right? To show how good they are. And you can easily make a case that, look, before you build this unbelievable stadium, build a great team first. Make a decision. Go in front of the supporters, if you're Daniel Levy, and say, you know what? It's not just the managers, because we've had just about every one of them, and some of them great managers who have won over and over and over again. But here we are again with the same Spurs.
I'm going to take you back to March 2023, and this ties in with what you were saying. Antonio Conte is in charge. Here's his quote. He's talking about you can change the manager, but you can't change the situation. And I see only 11 players that play for themselves. He was asked, why is that the case at Tottenham? And he said, because they're used to it here. They're used to it. They don't play for something important here. They don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. That was nearly 2 years ago. And I think that's a good point you make. That this isn't just Ange Postecoglou coming in and not having a good season. They're 15th right now, Spurs, or thereabouts. And he's had a lot of injuries to contend with. And I'm not making excuses, because it's not been good enough for Spurs. But if this was a one-off and he'd come in on the back of success after success after success and produced this, then you might have more questions to ask. But is it because the club itself is soft, not just has a soft spine? Is that the problem at this football club?
Absolutely. And as I said, look, I mean, part of me thinks that they shouldn't change Ainge. They should just write this out, because nothing else is going to change. I mean, I can't think of a manager that's going to come in right now and change that. In fact, it may be the opposite, because probably if you change the manager in 2, 3, 4 weeks time, you're going to get 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 players back. That list is so long. And of course, a new manager is going to benefit from that. So I just think that it's honesty. It's somebody, Ange has been pretty honest. We just don't want to listen to it because the results are so important. And of course, you can take exception to the way he's played. Even today, as you mentioned, as stubborn as he is, he changed the formation a little bit in the first half. It did look like 3 in the back. I'm not 100% sure, but the high line stayed, and they paid the price for that over and over again as well. So, but I just almost think that you have to write the season off and see if maybe Ange can do what he did when he first got there. Remember those first 17 games where they had the best defense in the league, and certainly were getting the results early in the season. So I don't know. Sometimes giving up in a situation that's unfixable for anybody, if the injury list stays the way it is, maybe that's the best way to go. But yes, in terms of what's happening at Spurs, I just think that the managers, the management has to take full responsibility for that, because managers are changing, but the results are not.
If you're bringing in one player in a position of need for Spurs in January, what position is it?
Oh,
it's not easy, is it?
No, it is not. I mean, they score enough goals. I mean, they're not the worst in the league in terms of conceding the goals, right? They're not seeing results through because they've been in a position where they should have won games. I suppose right now it would be, I don't know what position, but it would be a player with unbelievable leadership skills, right? I mean, somebody for sure, whoever that may be, wherever you think that is, and obviously
a Gary Mabbitt type player. Remember him back in the day?
Defensively somewhere, right? Some an organizer right now. If the situation is such that we know that the likes of Romero or Mickey van de Ven, are not coming back for a while, and even if they're back, I have a lot of questions for Romero as well, and his temperament and all that, right? As good a player as he is, he's a World Cup winner, but obviously susceptible to yellow cards, to red cards, and I'm not 100% sure that he's the greatest of leaders. So I suspect it has to be somebody like that, somebody, no nonsense, hard nose, that knows how to organize on the pitch, right? Ange's job is to do it off the pitch, but you always need a leader, a captain, or a couple captains on the pitch as well. So it would have to be somebody with tremendous amount of experience, in my opinion, wherever it may be on the pitch. But defensively, it's the easy answer.
Yeah, those of a certain vintage. Remember Gary Mabbitt, Richard Gough, those that just they would run through a brick wall for the football club. Could play a bit as well, but they would not be outfought ever. And at times with Spurs, you just feel, especially in that first half, because they came back in the second half. They got a couple of goals, and it's good to see Richarlison recovered from injury and back among the goals as well against his former team. But ultimately, it was too little, too late. They do have Leicester coming up. They've got a European tie against Hoffenheim as well. Prior to this game, the thought process in North London among our ESPN FC writers was that regardless of what happened, unless it was ridiculously embarrassing at Goodison, that Ange would not lose his job on the back of this. But you don't beat Leicester, then the problem might have to be exacerbated and a new coach might have to be searched for. It depends what they want to do. But for Everton, how about this? I know their game in hand is against Liverpool and it'll be tough, but if they win that, they would go only a point behind Spurs, who are very much looking over their shoulder.